Greetings, Earthlings. I come in peace. Today is October the 20th. I've decided to come here to Rawai Beach. One, because I haven't got anything else to do, and number two, because I heard on the news the other day that the police here were greatly intensifying their roadside checks. Obviously now there are a few tourists on the island. They've decided to harass them as much as they can and make as much money as they can out of them. They've been told to make as many arrests and fines as they can. So I might look like easy meat, but now that I am endowed with a Thai driving license, it's not so easy for them. So I decided to come here to Rawai because in the past I've never ever come to Rawai without being pulled over at a checkpoint, and that's one of the reasons I very, very rarely come here, even though it is about the best of the beaches as far as Phalang are concerned. Even in the heart of the lockdown, it didn't have that completely deserted air about it that Patong Beach used to have, and Qatar and Caron Beach still do have. They still look like Chernobyl, but this one, because there are quite a few Phalang live here, this one has got a sort of an air of normalcy about it. And I don't know what the laws are right now, but I'm having a beer as well. Yay. Now, on a personal note, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Hong Kong and the surrounding areas. Probably hardly any, but this place, Rawai Beach, always reminded me of Sai Kung, which is a place on the mainland, Kowloon side, a little seaside village that a lot of the expats used to live there, the wealthier ones. It was very well liked by Cathay Pacific pilots and navigators back in the day when, you know, they had navigators and flight engineers. It was a great place to come. They had a wonderful fish and chip shop there. I always used to skive off when I felt a cold coming on. I would skive off work and spend the day down in Sai Kung and buy myself some fish and chips and, you know, whatever. So this place reminds me of Sai Kung. As you know, everything reminds me of something, and so it's another reason I like to come down here. Immigration have now had my passport for 2.5 weeks. I'm in the process of renewing my retirement visa. The paperwork states that it should take between 3 and 4 weeks, but when I did it last year, it came in at 2 weeks, pretty well on the day, maybe a couple of days shy of 2 weeks. So it's definitely taking longer this time. But because I'm using an agency to do it and paying them a vast amount of money on a no cure, no pay basis, you know, I'm not panicking, touch wood. So anyway, still waiting for that. And here is the Duke of York, the watering hole that we used to use in Sai Kung. Although in the end we ended up going more to the beach resort. Here are some of the the crew. These aren't my photos, by the way, so I'm not quite sure when these were taken. My era in Sai Kung was 1993, and here you can see it just looks similar. Obviously, if you saw it in the flesh, you'd say, well, it's hardly anything like it. You see that pier there? There is almost an identical pier in Rawai Beach, and it's that keys into my mind. And of course, they're, you know, both boating and fishing communities, and both by the sea. Cheers. Now, as my keenest fan would, I've only got one, my keenest fan would tell you, this is my first sort of live walking around post for a long time. Because there's nothing much new to post about. It's improving slightly now that the sandbox model in on the island of Phuket has seemed to have survived all the knocks, and they're opening up further now, so it's going to get further back to normal, although it will take years, if at all, for normal to ever come again. In fact, you know, I'm pretty sure it will never be what we used to call normal ever again. But anyway, things are getting a little bit better, knock on wood, so I'm more willing to make videos. I mean, I got fed up with walking around Patong, Qatar, Caron, looking at the utter desertion and desolation, and saying how horrible it was. Well, many other people are posting similar videos online, and theirs are usually better than mine anyway, so I'm just like preaching to the choir. So I stopped making videos, basically. So anyway, here is one, and I'm pleased to be making it, and editing it will give me something to do. I'm not sure if I said this or not regarding the police roadblocks, but I know I did say that I've never ever been to Rawai Beach here without being stopped, and so I came here especially today to be stopped, and I wasn't stopped. There was no road, there was no checkpoints out on the road in the normal position. Maybe they've put them up the road a bit, so on the way out of town this time instead of on the way in. Well, we shall find out, shan't we? So anyway, it's a bit of a laugh, really. I'll get back to you. Cheers. Here's an amusing story I have to relate. Now, you may know that I like to exercise every day, and one of my main places to exercise is walking around the Bangwad Reservoir, and you see the same people doing it every day, and some of them are actually quite friendly, and you know, they will say hello, how are you, and whatever. And there was one guy in particular, I wish I had his sunny, outgoing disposition, because he very quickly started saying, you know, good morning and whatever, and it developed into, you know, hello young man, how are you? I mean, I like that, the young man bit. I think he's not actually taking the piss, I know, but it makes a pleasant change from Thai locals calling me Papa. Oi, Grandad, come over here. Anyway, sooner or later, he introduced himself and saying, look, it's stupid to just say hello, and my name is Barry, what's yours? So I gave him my name, And as soon as he gave me his name, I thought, Barry, I'm going to forget that because I'm useless at names. I really am. I always have this problem. And so I thought Barry, Barry Mackenzie, Barry Humphries. Those of you that were around in the mid-70s will realise that that was a huge Australian thing. Barry Humphries became Dame Edna Everage, but he started off doing a comic strip, Barry Humphries, this amazing ochre Aussie that just introduced a whole raft of Australian slang, half of which I think he made up, but a whole raft of Australian slang that is still present in the English language to this day. Some of many different terms for being sick, drinking till you're sick, parking the tiger on the living room carpet, chundering, men at work, famous line from their song Down Under, where women glow and men chunder. That came from Barry Humphries. But anyway, I thought, I have a problem remembering names, but I'll probably remember his. And about 3 days later, a couple of days ago, I bumped into him on the route, and it was right opposite a place where you can stop in and, get a coffee, a glass of water or something. And so he invited me to sit down with him. He said, "Hello, Graham." I said, "Hello, Barry." And so we sat down and we had a chat. And he got up to go first and left me alone there. And as I got up to go, the thought processes churn around, and I realised that I'd completely forgotten his name. Within the time frame of the 10 minutes we were sat there together talking, I'd forgotten that his name was Barry. And not only had I forgotten that, I'd forgotten my hook as well, Barry Humphries. So that's a really scary thing. Being an engineer or an ex-engineer, of course, I tried to figure out what was going on here and how the human mind works. And the best I can come up with, and I'm pretty sure that this is the way the human brain works, is that when you first get some knowledge, it's parked in a section of your brain for short-term memory. And the brain, I think, has a subroutine that runs every so often to take that and put it into long-term memory when it's figured out that, yeah, this thing is going to be a significant future part of your existence. And I reckon that that's what had happened. When I was sitting down there talking to this guy, my brain decided to take his details and erase it from my short-term memory and put it into my long-term memory. The only problem is that it messed up. It did not rewrite the directory or the register in computer terms to let me know where to retrieve it from. And so it just disappeared completely. It's spooky. And obviously that may give you a bit of a clue as to how Alzheimer's sufferers lose their memory, although for them it's the other way around. They lose their no, that's correct. They lose their short-term memory before they lose their long-term. It's right, but it isn't right, of course, because it was parked in my long-term memory, but I couldn't retrieve it. Therefore, AKA, it did not exist at all. Anyway, I'm rambling. But that's an interesting story. I bumped into him again today and explained the whole situation to him very apologetically, and he's told me that his name is Barry. I don't know if it will make the switch again, but this time I've made sure it will, because I've noted it down on my iPhone in the notes section. So even if I do forget it, I can look it up again. And this is what happens to me when I'm learning new Thai words. I'm okay with them for a day or so, and then I find they're gone. So this is not an unknown situation for me. Anyway, there we are. Take care. Hi again. I'm back home now. So as a furtherance to what I was talking about earlier in Rawai Beach about my visa renewal, lo and behold, what should happen when I look at my computer, or my phone, sorry, to find the local news station that said that they've just come up with some new rules and regulations, which means that people renewing their retirement visa now have to have a health insurance policy of 3 million baht. Now, that is going to be almost impossible for me to get, because, you know, if I was like 50, it wouldn't be a problem, but in Thailand, the older you get, the more difficult it is to get health insurance, and the prices skyrocket with age. So luckily, when I read this, I was in my sister-in-law's hotel, which is right next door to the shop, the visa agency that I use. So I immediately hot-footed it around there and said, how does this affect me? And they said, it doesn't. You use a visa agency, none of that applies. Well, that's good news. If it's true, that's good news, but it's also pretty outrageous, really, because what I'm doing is effectively, I must admit, if I go to immigration and renew my visa myself, I have to do, provide all the paperwork and do all the work. It costs less than 2,000 baht. But if I go to this visa service, it costs 20,000 baht. Now, which is around about $600 or $700, So, but the big but is, one of the other requirements for a retirement visa is I also need 800,000 baht to be in my bank for the full year, which this time I do have, but last time I didn't. I messed up and brought the level of my bank account below the magic number. But if you used a visa service, it didn't matter. They stumped up the money for you or guaranteed it for you. So it seems that if you're prepared to pay a big enough bribe, then maybe none of this matters at all. I don't know. Well, we'll see, won't we? I'm due to find out within a week or so, when I get my passport back, whether there's a new visa in it or not. So we'll see. But really, I didn't need this shit today. It's just one more thing. I mean, the Thai nation really needs people like us here to help support their economy, and yet they carry on, inventing more hoops to jump through. It's crazy. So anyway, I'll keep you posted.